Welcome back to Switched to Linux. I was asked the other day my opinion of the difference between KMyMoney and GNUCash, like which one's better. And my answer was that GNUCash is more suited for doing business versus KMyMoney is more suited for personal finance. That was my understanding, having not looked at KMyMoney in the past, but having doing a lot of work in GNUCash, because I hear KMyMoney is easier to set up your reports and things like that, which appears to be true on the surface. But the thing is that I wanted to look at this from the business person's perspective, because there's a lot of things that you have to do in business accounting that KMyMoney simply doesn't do. So if you are looking for an accounting software for home finances, KMyMoney is going to be your better bet. If you're looking for something for managing finances in a business setting, you definitely want to go with GNUCash. So let's go ahead and walk through the original setup of KMyMoney, and then there's actually an option to import your settings from GNUCash. I'm not sure why, because most of the features in GNUCash aren't in this, but we're going to have a look at both of these anyway. So when you first start it up, this is the startup screen, basically saying, you need to create the new file setup. So let's go ahead and click next. You want to give it your name, switch to Linux, and my street number. You wish you knew, whatever else. And it does say here, this is only information about yourself to configure it. You don't have to import any of this, although you can import it from an address book. Let's go ahead and say next. Choose which currency you want. US dollar is good for me. You can deselect this or select it. Let's just go ahead and do this. You can give it the number on the account. We can give it our opening date, our opening balance, name of the institution, my bank type today, thank you, and routing number. Yeah. All right, so you can give it all this information. Now, GNUCash has the options to go online and sync these. I don't know if KMyMoney does or not. I did not investigate that or not. Presumably it does if it wants to know all this information. I don't see a reason why it needs this otherwise. So here then you can select some information here. Select the groups that are associated. So you can do a base with no categories. You can do a little bit, just some basic detailed categories. Simple and small home set. There's for home, for the people with kids, people with pets. There are some Schedule C IRS things in here. Although, well, it seems to set the categories here. It does not do an appropriate enough job of managing business type settings, but you can actually select those variety of different expenses if you want to. Over here, you can configure the preferences. After finishing the wizard, we'll go ahead and do that, just basically what you'll see. And then here it's loading the file, so it's documents mint.kmy. All right. And you know what? I was doing some testing. Let's just go ahead and call it 2. It's not going to let me do that because I still had a file in there. So here is our basic setup. These are the configurations. And of course, we have our tip of the day, which I'm going to get rid of over here. So as far as our configurations are concerned, you can come in here and mess with any of these different configurations. You can show or hide different categories. Here's your ledgers, online quotes, reports, number of items to display, chart line width. There's a lot of different stuff over here. Forecasts. I'm not sure what's up with this encryption. Everything on this encryption is grayed out. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe you can tell me. And you can do icons. Of course, we only have a single icon set up. And then there's some plugins here. So the capability of printing checks. Again, it's a business function that I don't see a lot of solid use for. And I'm going to show you why that is in a minute. All right, so we're not going to change any of those. So here's kind of what we have, and we're basically just starting out with an account. So here's our institutions. So here's my account at my bank. We can come up and add a new institution, add a new account. We can open a ledger. We can reconcile, edit the accounts, all these things at the top. Now, we need to install KCalc in order to get the calculator to work. That's exciting. All right, over here are your categories. Remember, we did select that Schedule C, so it does give us some basic categories that we would see inside of these, but you can kind of see where they are. There's some quirkiness with that. Here's your tags. Here's your different pays. So these are the people you're paying. Maybe you're setting this up. So this is why I think if you're setting this up as a personal system, this is great, because as personal, we might have, who's our new payee. We might pay our internet bill. All right, so we might do a new one and we might say our mortgage. Okay, so you can see that you can set these up to easily control this. In fact, what this has a feel like is way back when I had Microsoft Office 95, back in the good old days. I had the full Office 95 professional OEM disc, and that came with Microsoft Money, and I really enjoyed using Microsoft Money in that day. This kind of has a feel much like that. So here's some investment stuff. Here's your basic reports. You can see there's different reports. I'll show you what these look like when we have populated data in a second here. We can do individual budgets, forecasts. So you can actually see for a personal use, this is actually pretty good. Now, it is a little clunky in that if I go up to transaction, I can't add a new transaction. You actually have to go all the way down into your ledger and then highlight where your account is. And now we can actually create a new transaction. And we have options of transfer, which is the default, pay to, transfer to, or we have a deposit, or we have a withdrawal. This does make sense because this is going to transfer out. But what you'll notice here is if you're trying to categorize things, the only way to throw a transaction into a category is to use a withdrawal. So from here, I can actually do a withdrawal into the internet bill, and I can select our category. Let's see if there's something in here. So let's just for sake of anything, let's just go ahead and call it business, just because that's not really important right now. This is my internet bill, and we can give it our number. Maybe, Comcast is such a jerk these days. I actually pay $95. That's the best price I can find for being able to stream and do the things you guys like to watch on this channel. That's how much I have to pay, which is annoying as all get out. And now I have to hit my enter over here. So now when I go into our balances here, I can see that I have my internet bill is paid over here. And if I go to my categories, I put under categories there. So looking, see, double clicking on the category gives me that. So if I double click here, it's going to kind of create a ledger, but I dropped into the business and I couldn't actually get it into there. So now we can kind of see that here the business account is the internet bill. So that's kind of what I can do, but I can't really see that any other place. And if I go into let's look at our accounts. Here's our accounts, opening balance, internet bill is paid here. And then if I look at my pays, I have everything logged out here. So far this looks pretty good and looks pretty promising. So where do we have this major limitation I'm talking about? Well, when you're running a business, you have a lot of things to track. You have to track when an invoice is created, and you have to track when an invoice is actually posted. There is no function in here to do invoicing. But there's also no function here to log the accounts required for payments as well. So here we only have payees, we don't have payors. We don't have the ability to create invoices. We don't have the ability to create an invoice and not mark it as paid yet and drop it easily into an accounts payable or an accounts receivable, and then move it from the accounts payable, accounts receivable into the appropriate institution when that bill is paid. I'm not seeing any of those options. So just to kind of show you what we're talking about here, we're going to close this file. No, I don't want to save any changes. And now we come up here to import. We're going to import the GNUCash file that we have worked with. Whoop, it's not there. It's under documents. GNUCash. This is the GNUCash file that I did the series of tutorials with. So here it's giving us all of the different things here. Let's just say okay, and we should be able to import everything. So it's finding two commodities, 76 accounts, different from a single family would only have maybe a few accounts. We have 30 different transactions. So let's go ahead and say we are done. Here it's going to do this. It's highlighted the US dollar, set as the base currency, close, and now we actually have our information set up. So if you remember from our initial setup, here's our savings account, petty cash account, liabilities. Here's what our chart of accounts looks like. So, and remember, this is a very simple one. I have a much more complicated one in my actual businesses. Liabilities, here's our credit card, accounts payable, here's our accounts receivable, checking account, petty cash, savings account, fairly standard. You might also have like a Square account, a PayPal account. You know, if you're running a business, you have a variety of different accounts in here. Under our categories, we can actually come in here and we can find, for example, in our tutorials, we did some Amazon ads, Google ads, emailing lists. I think everything that we did over there was thrown into the marketing category here. And getting something into this marketing category is just fine, but we can't easily drop it into the accounts payable, accounts receivables, and then move it because there's no way to create an invoice. So we can't actually search for any invoices or anything like that. What we can actually do, and what this is doing a little bit better, is we can much easier to find a list of our payees and see how much is coming in. But if you notice, these are payees. These are the people we paid money to, but there is nowhere to actually see how much money we had come in. So let's look at our reports and look at our income and expense graphs. So here we can see that income somewhere is tracked. It's just we don't have a good way to spot those. So income expenses by year, by graph, by pie chart this year, nothing by a customer or anything else. And that is where this is going to fail you if you're trying to use KMyMoney for business. Is it a bad application? No, it's not. It's just not designed for business. And that's why I want to do this video indicating why if you're looking at personal finances, KMyMoney is going to be easier because it's just a lot easier to work with, but GNUCash is going to be the power that you need to log employees, to log your customers, and to log your vendors. And those are important things that you need to do. Also, we have things that we don't have here. We don't have a basic P&L that I found. It might be here. Maybe I missed it, but we don't have a basic P&L. Which is something your accountant is absolutely going to need if you are, using that. And if you're doing corporate filings, you need P&Ls, things like that. So this is not a bad application. It's just understand that this would be like trying to use a screwdriver where the job calls for a hammer. So this is why I'm going to stick to the original comment that I had where I said, Kmail is definitely more suited for a personal home use. GNUCash is definitely more suited to a business environment. And I would be very hard pressed to even attempt to use this as a business environment. You're probably going to find yourself into trouble, particularly if you get an audit. You are going to find yourself in some serious trouble if you're trying to use KMyMoney. So that's my thoughts on the application. Use it for what it's for, which is personal financing. And who knows, maybe I'll try and run this with personal financing to see how well it does a job over the course of 6 months or a year. See how this compares to my current spreadsheet model. That would be a neat test to do. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on KMyMoney and GNUCash and the differences and how to run it and use each of these for business or personal uses. And if I get enough requests, maybe I'll go ahead and do some more videos on this and actually set it up and give it a test and see how well it actually performs doing accounting for a month or two. So let me know what you think about all these in the comments down below.